Hey, thanks so much for finding the video. Do us a favor. If you haven't done so yet, please subscribe. And be sure to leave your comment. We love to interact. Enjoy the video. What feels like a foregone conclusion is that Drew Brees, his career is going to come to an end. Sean Payton mentioned that he expects Brees to make that announcement within the next week or two. Timing makes a lot of sense, right? Wait until after the Super Bowl. Let all of this pass so the Super Bowl can have its moment. These two teams can have their moment. Then Drew Brees makes that announcement. That's what feels like an inevitability, so much so that we've all really moved on talking about who's going to be next. You know, Matt Stafford was one that a lot of people thought would be in the conversation. Apparently the Saints didn't make an offer to Detroit for Stafford. We've talked a lot about Jameis Winston, the draft picks, who could be next. But still no announcement from Drew Brees, and at least one of his current teammates, soon-to-be former teammates, is actually hoping this isn't the end for Drew Brees. And it's not just any one of his teammates. It's the defensive captain, Demario Davis, who was on Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and was asked about the possibility of Drew Brees coming back for one more year.
Man, I sure hope so. I would feel much better if I could guarantee that it was, but I guess the only way I could be able to guarantee it is if one of you guys say something reckless, like he finished or something, and I could guarantee he coming back. But I sure hope so.
So Demario Davis saying he sure hopes that Drew Brees returns for another season. And considering what we saw from Drew Brees, which was a season where obviously he had major injuries, as we saw. And we later learned from Brittany Brees that he also had a foot injury and a rotator cuff injury on top of the broken ribs and the collapsed lung and everything else there. So maybe in part that does explain Drew Brees' play. And then really it's actually more remarkable that he played as well as he did considering those injuries. But Brees completed 70% of his passes on the season, a rating of 106.4, 24 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Considering he missed 5 games, that's actually remarkable. But I think we all also kind of readily agree and understand that Drew physically isn't at a place where he's going to be able to lead the Saints to the mountaintop again. They can win a lot of games, like Mike Detillier was talking about with us earlier. They can win a lot of games. Are they a championship-level team with 41-year-old Drew Brees, 42-year-old Drew Brees? That doesn't seem to be the case, but when you have the defensive MVP of your team there saying he wants him back, I do think that speaks volumes. Now, Davis talked more, and listen, it's been obviously a lot of playoff disappointment for New Orleans. Demario Davis joined New Orleans in 2018. So this is a guy that, if you include the playoffs, Demario Davis in his 3 years in New Orleans, they've gone 42-13. It's remarkable. Prior to that, his record in the NFL was 34-62. He'd been on a lot of bad teams, lost a lot of games. He comes to New Orleans. He's an all-pro. He's the defensive captain. He's one of the best linebackers in football. He has really reached his potential in New Orleans, in Dennis Allen's defense, and what he's meant to the city. And a guy from Mississippi is back closer to his home. It's been a perfect spot for Demario Davis, but he's also met with a lot of playoff disappointment, from the Nola no-call in his first year here to what happened last year in round 1 against Minnesota, and now reaching the divisional round and coming up short at home against Tampa Bay. And Demario Davis was asked about continuing to come back from all those disappointments.
I certainly think the mentality of a winner in any field in life, not just sports, understand anybody that's had success is you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down many times, as it's happened with this team. What winners and successful people understand is it's all about getting up. And when you get up, you don't know what's on the other side of when you get up. But that's the only way to success. That's the only way to victory. And that's what this team has to do. Falling short, it's going to happen, and it happened to us. But what do? You get up, you dust yourself off, and you get ready to move forward. And you find a way to take all of that pain from that loss, and you use it to motivate you and propel you forward. There's no doubt in my mind that this team will do that, as it's always done.
Will it be championship caliber? You got the roster in place aside from that quarterback spot to do it. I think that's obvious right now. Now, what they do in the offseason is going to be much conversation and already has been. You know the story. The Saints are $100 million over the projected cap. What do you do with impending free agents like, as we mentioned, Marcus Williams and Trey Hendrickson and Jameis Winston? And then the Saints every year always go into veteran free agency and always sign somebody. If it were Demario Davis, or if it been guys like Jared Cook in the past, or a lot of the free agency misgivings with Jarris Byrd and Kobe Fleener and others. That was an audible groan from Muso over there. He's right. That's where the Island of Misfit Toys came from. But the Saints actually did get a smidge of good news today. According to Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network, the projected salary cap isn't going to be as low as initially thought. Now, the Saints are still up against it. They're going to have to do some magic here. But the projected cap that we've discussed has been in the $175 million range. So this year in 2020, it was 198.2. Salary cap was 198. Generally, you see a small percentage increase in the cap every year. Well, obviously with COVID, revenue is down, so the cap's going to decrease next year. It was thought to be around 175. It actually looks like, according to Tom Pelissero, that's going to be closer to $185 million. While not a massive difference, $10 million could be the difference in being able to re-sign a free agent or not this year for New Orleans. So that is significant. Right there, that's already about $10 million in cap relief that none of us were expecting the Saints to have, that apparently they will have. And I think we all understand how a lot of this is going to go. Drew Brees has a dead cap hit of $22 million. That's going to save the Saints about $14 million, what he would have counted against the roster if he played. And there's a lot of other players that we've gone through and talked about what their savings would be. Teron Armstead's a guy who may restructure a deal. Taysom Hill, I think you have to take a long look at that. You could theoretically save about $5 million if Taysom Hill's not on your roster next year. Is it worth having Taysom Hill around? I think that's a tough conversation they're going to have. Janoris Jenkins, you're going to save roughly $7 million by not having him on the roster next year. So it's almost impossible to imagine him back under his current contract. I know we've also, of course, talked about Quan Alexander. Quan Alexander, his cap number next year is $13 million. It's not guaranteed. He most certainly will not be back at that number. Maybe you in free agency sign him to a lesser deal, but he certainly won't be there at $13 million. So that is going to save you more money there and get you closer to the number that you have to meet. But keep in mind, you still got to sign draft picks and you've got to sign your free agents. So it's not just trimming $90 million. It's trimming more than that to be able to sign your draft picks and free agents that you're ultimately going to want to sign. But I'll say it now at 5:11 p.m. Central Time on Thursday, February the 4th of 2021. Anybody want to bet that the Saints, when free agency begins, are going to sign free agents? Anybody want to bet that the Saints are going to go do what they do every single year, which is be competitive in the market and add someone at a position of need in veteran free agency? They do it every year, and they're going to do it again this year. And they're going to field a team next fall, and they're going to find a way to get this done. And we talk about it every single year, and it's an interesting talking point about cap hell and all that junk. But the bottom line is there are loopholes and always ways to get creative. If it's voidable years, if it's phantom years on the end of a contract, if it's converting salary to a signing bonus to spread it out over multiple years of a contract, there's always ways to do it. And there's literally nobody better in the NFL than the New Orleans Saints front office with Kai Harley and those guys doing this very thing. They've just found every loophole to manage to build a roster while up against the stated salary cap, which is really nothing more than just a figment of your imagination. It's just a target that you have to get by with the way you structure everything. So they'll do it again this year, and they'll be just fine. It's just a matter of who's going to be the quarterback. Demario Davis wants it to be Drew Brees. I don't think he's going to get his wish. By the way, one more from Demario Davis, who was asked who he's picking in the Super Bowl.
Totally different offenses. You have a lot of dynamic players on Tampa Bay at all positions, and you have a lot of speed as far as the Chiefs. And so I don't know which one I'd say is more explosive. They're just different. As far as who wins the game, I got bloodline, so there's no way, nothing in me that allowed me to say Tampa Bay gonna win. So I got to roll with the Chiefs.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.